Good morning, everybody. David Atkins, TI, here back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about scripts. Robert Duncan's Project Soulcatcher Part 8. I'm going to be talking about scripts and reading the different scripts they use, like Wizard of Oz, Alice, um, different stuff like that, Fallen Angel scripts. And we're going to get into it right now. I'm going to share the screen. If you want to, I'm going to put my PayPal. I'm self-sufficient. Hardly ever ask for donations, but now I'm asking for donations. So if you'd like to donate, just go to my PayPal below in the description. Really appreciate that. I pay $20 a month from Zoom out of my own pocket to interview people. So anyway, here we go. Let's share the screen. Go right here. All right. So superstitions and mythologies are used to confuse and discredit and manipulate cultures or individuals using these communication weapons. Topics and takeaways of this chapter. Resistance is futile. Counter-resistant techniques. There are typical scripts and tricks used by the CIA and DoD during mind hacking interrogations, both with physical and remote renditions. Since the development of mind control technologies, the various signs of torture, interrogation, and personality programming have been adapted to remote renditions. The CIA scripts and tricks are common, cultural specific themes. Some are tailored to an individual, but in a general way, they are based on popular culture. Hold on one second. Okay. Popular culture, the most common scripts are used are called The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, the Bible, but many newer ones have shown up in the last decade. Government projects are basing them on movies like The Blade Runner, Star Wars, Bourne Identity, Matrix, Inception. It's worth discussing the three most popular scripts that are used over and over again on thousands of people. Different kinds of stresses over time cause different effects on the human psychology. Some kinds of small stresses add over time. This is the concept behind the Chinese water torture. A small drop of water every second on the forehead will eventually drive the captive crazy. Other kind of tortures only last for duration before the mind adapts and filters it out. And some kinds of torture work best if the target knows beforehand what's going to be done to them rather than have it surprise them. Sensitization of stress helps the target want to tell the truth. This is often called stress conditioning. A person can be sensitized to or desensitized to certain kinds of stressors. If they are sensitized to lying, then the target's more likely to tell the truth during interrogation. If a person desensitized to lying, then they make for a good spy and can pass polygraphs with ease. The technique to sensitize the person of interest is to use shame, guilt, and by making every one of their fears come true. The prominent technique employed is to use the subject's mind against them. In the extreme, a person can be completely traumatized that they cannot handle everyday situations without shutting down. A movie called Clockwork Orange demonstrates this technique by the DoD behavior psychologist. The object is to destroy and kill the target with their own mind using remote influence. A year before the financial institutions here's a CIA project interview. A year before the financial institutions collapsed while I was being tortured, they told me the U.S. is going to suffer the worst financial a collapse it's ever seen in history. It will be the greatest robbery of Americans ever pulled off. I told people after I was released, but no one believed me. It came true. How did they do this? Do they really have that much power over world events? Omnipotence is demonstrated through prophecy scripts, either by having foresight or be creating events later make the target believe in prophecy and fulfilling of the individual affecting the future to stop bad events from occurring. They can use V2K to start telling you stuff that they already know is going to happen and make you think you're a prophet. They can trick you into thinking God's talking to you, but you need to learn the difference in hearing from God and hearing from V2K, though. It's not the same. Alice in Wonderland script. Proportions and logic have fallen sloppy dead, and the white knights are talking backwards, and the red queen has lost her head. Jefferson Airplane. In all interrogation literature, the first steps are to confuse and disorient the detainee. Like in most of CIA scripts, there's a goal of confusion. Alice in Wonderland script is aptly named as it involves chasing the white rabbit in the beginning. Chasing the white rabbit is an information warfare term for leading the subject down a path of misinformation and information overload. During the script, this mind hackers increase the panic using a beta way enhancement entrainment while conveying messages such as panic, hurry up, the end of the world's near, we're going to kill your family, we're frying your brain, we place bombs in your car, etc. Panic's used to confuse the target, but also make the target act irrationally and make bad decisions. People who panic can also be made to make choices through suggestion more easy. In the fairy tale, the White Rabbit's panicking for no apparent reason, other than to get the Mad Hatter's tea party. Hurry up, I'm late, I'm late. The script is often used to discredit the target and make them sound insane. They often tell the target they lost their minds and have planted brain chip in them. The Cheshire Cat says to Alice, "You wouldn't be here unless you were mad." As the experimentation script progresses, so does the madness. This prepares the target to chat to Alice and Tammy chatterboxes, automated AI programs described in Chapter 3. The programs are imperfect, but their imperfections can be understood if one thought they were talking to an insane person. Most people do not know that the writer of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, was a physicist. There are many references to this intuitive quantum world in his writings, but in the CIA use of script, they go on to test perception warfare techniques. Remember, Alice becomes very small and large where logic and proportions make no sense. And to top off the script, it comes incomplete with the evil Cheshire Cat smile cloned onto the target. The White Knight talks backward trickery. This is one of the more complex tricks technology that the CIA uses in their Alice in Wonderland programs. It's Tammy stands for Thought and Mind Interface. Alice stands for Artificial Linguistic, and then I don't know. We'll get to it. It should tell here in soon. It's meant to confuse the subject, discredit them if they tell anyone, make them believe an omnipotent force exists, so they won't be hiding any secrets. It's truly an amazing and illusion trick. One of their best and most difficult to explain, it requires two features of wireless mind hacking tools, detections of sudden changes using radar triangulation, and Alice, chatterbox program. Later in the book, Alice will be described in detail, but it's basically a conversation bot used to invoke endless conversation with a human and can be used to induce internal conversation that tricks the person into thinking it's their own internal voice. I deal with it every day. The technology of synthetic telepathy utilizes words by the brain. It requires several repeated patterns of stimulus, entire sentences until comprehended constantly by the target's mind. The chatterbox can induce the neural feedback loop. When the individual walks backwards, the chatterbox will simply replay the last sentence or phrase phonetically backwards. The voice neurological communication signals often include the verbal cortex, which controls the voice muscles and their pattern. So the target will literally speak the sounds backwards out loud. People have difficulty believing they are just biological computing entities, but this demonstration would convince anyone. The Wizard of Oz script. Wizard of Oz script, codenamed by the CIA later as the Kubark Manual, follows the movie script by characters: the Cowardly Lion, the Scarecrow with no brain, and the Tin Man with no heart, and the Wicked Witch. The characters are acted out in the cybernetic hive mind for experimentation and interrogation. The target becomes each character in search of the fraud wizard hiding behind the national security curtain. Dorothy, we're not in Kansas anymore. So basically, everybody's going down rabbit holes of misinformation, trying to find the real truth, trying to find who the wizard is behind the curtain. Is it the DOD? Is it the government? Is it my neighbors? Who is it? We're not in Kansas anymore. In these personality simulations, the target's put through enormous strains. The strange twist on the good cop, bad cop interrogation tactic. The strategy is like a subject's most likely to crack and tell their secrets under different emotional states and conditions. First comes the Wicked Witch, where they try to get the target to perform selfish, evil deeds. Next comes the Cowardly Lion. Paranoia induction into the target's mind creates this state. Then the Tin Man is the sociopathic personality with no heart and no care, who is angry at the world. The final stage is the Scarecrow with no brain, a typical brain jamming confusion tactic during the interrogation. This drawn out script even comes with impish like midget voices on helium, like the Lollipop Kids. I know y'all remember that. We represent the Lollipop Guild. Okay, Angels and Demon script. The Angels and Demon script is the most popular one used on psychic warfare targets, so it's important to cover in detail. The script plays into religions, local cultures, and superstitions and mythology. 95% of the world is religious to some extent, so these techniques are very effective when combined with the voice of God weapons. Angels Don't Play This Heart, title of a book by Dr. Nick Begich. And I've read that book. I've got it on Kindle. I wish Kindle would let you share books because I would share it with y'all. First, while creating a program assassin, the operator can dilate the target's pupils, which makes the person look like a demon. The dilation occurs during dopamine and adrenal pump. purely stimulated through neural circuits. This is demonic possession script and gives the appearance that the person's possessed. It's used like all scripts to confuse the target about real technology and purposes. Even special effects, computer spooking viruses can make the person look possessed. HARP stands for High Altitude Aurora Research Project. Many of the people on mind control and electronic nervous system torture point their finger at this giant phased array used for global communications. See, spooking viruses. And additionally, many will look like they're talking to themselves or have a split personality. I've done that talking to my V2K. During rapid fire interrogation techniques, the person is visited by 4 fallen angels or demons. In summary, if the psychic assassin fails to kill their targets, the target's saved by God's angels. They're usually Michael or Gabriel in CIA scripts for Christian faith. Then they basically are menticide into complacency and zombification, hoping ignorance is bliss as their memories fade of the torture. Project Monarch and Project Phoenix had similar objectives. The metaphor used is that the previous personality will be beaten out of the target and they will emerge as a deadly, beautiful bird of fly or a beautiful bird from the ashes. In the book 1984, they torture the target until they submit like a zombie and feel the ruling party's ideas into their heads. Side note on inserting and reinforcing ideas into a target. Psychic warfare training involves many techniques to fill people's heads with ideas and reinforce those ideas. Here are some of the tricks involved in doing it using an array of bioenergetic weaponry. Ideas are more championed if the person takes personal ownership to them. The techniques often used in strategy or consulting cells to get the recipient to believe they came to a conclusion. There are many factors in getting this person to buy, such as authoritative speaker, trust, calmness, etc. Many find religion and experiences very intense, often life-changing. In fact, any unusual and intense experiences can alter a person's life view sometimes. Examples: Eureka and Miracle script. Religion is the favorite method of manipulation of all the mind hacking scripts. Using the voice of God, biocommunications such as microwave silent sound signals, and most will believe their God of the choice is speaking to them. Aliens or angels or demons. Another cognitive warfare strategy is to insert ideas that the targets use a first-person voice for an inner thought accompanied by induced goose flesh. This makes the person believe they came up with the idea, and it makes it feel more important, like a eureka. Goose flesh is one of the biological parameters mentioned by the researchers at the Air Force Direct Energy Directorate. Let us look at some games played and the parallels of angels and demons script to biblical teachings. A tinnitus tuning fork sound, which has the mathematical property and amplitude called Gabriel's horn, is used in one of their scripts. The bell of his visits turns people into prophets. This trickery has worked on many targets of U.S. behavioral experimentation using the voice-to-skull technologies. 4 angels visit their target, use rapid-fire question techniques. Next, Lucifer or Satan use paranoia scripts, as it says in one of the many Bibles, to use their own mind to destroy their house, relationships, and possessions. Other aspects of the angels and demons CIA scripts include Satan's visit. During this part of mind control is a test of understanding what the target can maintain as truth when the operators tell the target that Satan only lies. Even when the target knows this, mind control is so powerful that sometimes the lies are believed. Sometimes the story of Job is used and the target is told that God is testing their faith through suffering and torture. The CIA DoD bastardized the Bibles for their trickery and human weapons effective testing. Side note, testimony from another Manchurian candidate, programmed assassin in the making. They forced me to read the Bible, and Revelations in particular. It was obvious they were trying to force a religion on me. They made constant references to the Judgment Day and fallen angels. I see why the Department of Defense calls these voice of God weapons. They tried to give me a Jesus complex of persecution. They tried to make me believe I was a prophet. They tried every technique to turn me into a Manchurian candidate to attack political and military targets in the United States. When I refused, they tried suicidal hypnosis and suggestion to dispose of me. Luckily, I wasn't smart enough to know their game. If a person says anything just like I told you to authorities, they would get locked up. I got a hold of one of the CIA's original project documents dating back to 1953 that clued me in on that they would crash the financial markets in order to rob the world while the people focused on terrorism. But is it difficult to believe that anything they told me? They were right about the financial market collapse 2 years before it happened. Few names are mentioned in this book to protect the innocent document to which this person is referring to, called Project Artichoke. He told our researchers the target's names whom he was being programmed to assassinate. They were active military and political figures. The original documents for Project Artichoke said they could not kill any political figure in America or any other country, but it did not say that high-ranking generals could be targets. The mind programmers seem to have diverged from their original directive since 1953. A new type of coup d'etat is in the works. Several of our interviews said they were grabbed on the Day of Atonement, October 29th or 31st, which is Satanic holiday. This too plays into the satanic cult scripts. Watchers, fallen angels, illegal surveillance and manipulation. The mind hackers also often call themselves watchers. The watchers or Grigori are a group of fallen angels told of in the Bible of Apocrypha, who mated with mortal women, giving rise to the race of hybrids known as the Nephilim, who are also mentioned in Genesis 6:4. The Watcher appears in biblical Apocrypha in the first and second book of Enoch and Jubilees. The word Grigori derives from the Slavonic second book of Enoch. According to the book of Enoch, the Watchers numbered a total of 200, but their only leaders are named, and they were all in 200, who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. They called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations on it. Enoch 6. Research interviews. What struck in accord with our interviews is that we tasked several targets to ask their handlers how many psychic remote viewers there were in the organization. 3 of them were told 200, a reference to a biblical apocrypha, but obviously untrue. All right, so we got to go back to 31. So 31 is imprecations, means maledictions, curses. Secret societies often use this technique of mutually assured destruction in the initiation, such as the Yale Skull and Bones. They divulge their deepest secrets so that breaking the oath can have consequences. The intelligence community has similar techniques. Okay, Gabriel, literally strong man of God, is an angel who serves as a messenger from God. His first appears in the book of Daniel from the Hebrew Bible. Islam further believes he was the medium through whom God revealed the Quran and sent messages to most prophets, if not all, revealing their obligations. He's called the chief of the 4 favored angels in the spirit of truth. In some views, Gabriel is the same as the Holy Spirit. The big 3 warring religions, Christian, Hebrew, and Muslim, are not the only ones who have a messenger for God. Even the Romans and Greeks had Hermes and Mercury. Additionally, in Catholicism, Gabriel is the patron saint of the messengers, those who work for broadcasting telecommunications such as radio and television, remote sensing, and postal workers. Michael's function is to open the gates of justice to the just. It's also said that the resurrection, Gabriel will sound the trumpet at which the graves will open and the dead will rise. Pseudepigraphy. According to the non-canonical book Enoch 9:1 through 2, 1 and 2, Gabriel, along with Michael, Raphael, Uriel, and Suriel, hear the cries of humanity under the terrain of the Nephilim. It was their beseeching of the ancient days, Yahweh, that promoted them to call God Enoch to prophethood. After Enoch informed the watchers of their fall from grace, Yahweh sent to the angels their complete various tasks. Gabriel's was to go to the biters, to the reprobates, to the children of fornication, to the offspring of the watchers from among men, bring them forth and excite them one against each other. Let them perish under mutual slaughter, for the length of the days shall not be theirs. Enoch 10:13. And so Gabriel instigated wars among the giants, the children of the watchers. Enoch 49 states that Gabriel presides over all that is powerful. Gabriel is regarded with the exact same respect by Muslims as of all prophets, and upon saying his name, referring to him as a Muslim, repeats, peace be upon him. Gabriel's primary tasks are to bring messages from God to his messengers. As in Christianity, Gabriel is said to be the angel that informed Mary of how she would conceive Jesus. The Gabriel first appears in the book of Daniel, setting of the story of Babylonian captivity. The Jewish leader, Daniel, ponders the meaning of several visions he's experienced in exile. When Gabriel appears to him with a message about the end of the days, and it came to pass, when I, even Daniel, had seen the visions that I sought to understand, and behold, there stood before me an appearance of a man, and I heard the voice of a man between the banks of Ulai, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was terrified and fell upon my face. But he said to me, understand, son of man, for the vision belongs to the time of the end. Gabriel's horn refers to the tradition identifying the archangel Gabriel with the angel who blows the horn to announce judgment day, associating with infinite with the divine. And you see that the mathematical function is found in the amplitudes of bells and the shapes of horns used at sporting events. Many targets of electronic harassment have stated they heard tinnitus, and it follows this curve before communication. I know I get a fluttering in my ear usually before communication, like a fluttering against my eardrum. It goes. Narrated Aisha. Al-Harith and Ben Hisham asked the prophet, "How does the divine inspiration come to you?" He replied, "In all these ways. The angels sometimes come to me with a voice which resembles the sound of the ringing bell. When the state abandons me, I remember what the angel has said, and this type of inspiration is the hardest on me. And sometimes the angels come to me in the shape of a man and talks to me. I understand and remember what he says. Many targets hear a 3.3 hertz pulse ringing in the ears of tinnitus, which sounds like a bell ringing and follows a logarithmic curve. Tinnitus might be a side effect of the audio cortex neurons being induced for spontaneous firing. It might be a method to associate a sound to a torture sequence, a Pavlov effect, thereby intensifying the torture and lasting damage effects on target psychology. In addition, the associations with particular sound helps bring back the focus of the target's mind about the external signal and trains it to listen again. The spy spook industry loves this quote, used to justify tongue in cheek their disinformation campaign. I heard Eli's apostle saying, "The angels descend on the clouds and mention this or matter decreed in heaven. The devils listen to stealthily such matter, come down to inspire the soothsayers with it, and the latter would add to it 100 lives of their own." This technique is called the method by counterintelligence and strategic domestic deception units. For example, talk about mind control technology, then aliens. The human mind will assume everything is untrue because they don't believe in aliens or whatever is not a popular belief. Volume 4, Book 54, number 48. I heard Elijah's apostle saying, "Angels of mercy do not enter a house where there's a dog or a picture of a living creature." Once Gabriel promised the prophet that he would visit him, but Gabriel did not come. Later on, he said, "We angels do not enter a house which contains a picture of a dog." He's correlating the Bible and the Quran. Then he's showing what kind of scripts they use, kind of based off that. Clandestine officers kill, poison dogs, steal personal pictures, or erase them from computers as standard practice. Agents poison dogs before a home invasions. Isolation is important so that the person internally focuses on the external neural messaging. Brain entrainments to really be effective require that sensory stimulation be minimal from their peripheral sensors, such as sensory deprivation tanks. And here's another one. Allah's apostle said, "Your ordinary fire is one of 70 parts of the hellfire." Someone asked, "Oh, Allah, apostle, this fire would have been sufficient to torture the unbelievers." Allah's apostle said, "The fire has 69 parts more than the ordinary fire. Each part is as hot as this worldly fire." One can conceive 70 kinds of fire, such as microwave energy used for tortures by the U.S., lasers, rug burn, friction, ultrasound, oxidation, rashes from viruses or bacteria, frostbite, chemical burns, radiation, and muscle burns from stress positions. Allah's apostle said, "During your sleep, Satan knots 3 knots at the back of the head of you, and he breathes the following words at each knot: 'The night is long, so keep on sleeping.' If that person wakes up and celebrates the praises of Allah, then 1 knot is undone. When he performs the ablution, the 2nd knot's undone. When he prays, all the knots are undone. And he gets up in the morning lively and gay. Otherwise, he gets up dull and gloomy." Later, the reader will learn about Satan, silent assassination through adaptive networks, weapon system of behavioral psychology. The Russian Leda machine causes excessive sleep through radio frequency transmission. The U.S. uses dread, depression, and despair in trauma-based conditioning. And he said Satan circulates in the human mind as blood circulates in it. And I was afraid that Satan might throw an evil thought or something into your hearts. This is the way mind control works, by inserting thoughts into the human population. But I'm going to stop there. Next week, we're going to start at Sleeping Beauty script. Notice what he said right here. He said something very important up here, what I noticed. He said, isolation is important so that the person internally focuses on the external neural messaging. Brain entrainments to be really effective require that sensory stimulation be minimal from the peripheral sensors, such as sensory deprivation tanks. And that's all I got today. Sorry there wasn't much commentary with it. I'm experiencing heavy V2K right now, so I'm trying to ignore it and just read and get it done. They're mocking me. They're saying stuff after I say it, laughing, and it's, my handler's voice is laughing. They always use that to laugh. But anyway, I'm gonna stop sharing right now and hope everybody has the best holiday they can have as a target. And if you're not a target, I hope you have a good holiday. And I hope you use an open mind and see that this stuff is very real. God bless all TIs. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put my PayPal in the description if anybody would like to donate. Very much appreciated. God bless.